An undercover investigation by BBC Newsline has penetrated the murky world of car clockers and exposed what is a growing problem for local motorists.
Clocking means a second-hand car's mileage is illegally reduced to increase the value of the vehicle. Trading Standards says it will be hard pushed to identify a local town or city where clockers are not at work.
Using undercover cameras, our Consumer Affairs correspondent Martin Cassidy went in search of the perpetrators.
This is a man about to sell a clocked car, a vehicle which has had its mileage wound back so as to increase its value. We have come with secret cameras to find out what's going on.
It's showing a bit of wear and tear, but it's not showing 250 or 300,000 miles. You know what I mean? Yeah.
We'll hear more from him later. But first, let's look at some of the background to this problem. The rules of valuing a second-hand car are really very simple. What you should pay depends on the make and model, its age and condition. But another major factor is the number of miles the vehicle has done. But with some cars, the mileage you see is not always the mileage it's actually travelled. First-time car buyer Justin Gaughan liked the look of this Ford Focus. With a limited budget, he was looking for a reliable car that wouldn't cost too much to keep or repair. The dealer said the mileage was just over 86,000, but it was only after he bought it that he found that the mileage had been altered. In fact, it had done over 100,000 miles. His dream of a nice little runner was soon to become a high mileage nightmare.
I wasn't in the market for a car over 100,000 miles, and I wouldn't have bought it if I had known that that was the case.
That's one unhappy customer. But what about the people selling clocked cars? We have been investigating a dealer who's been convicted of clocking. 7 Towers Autos is located near Ballymena. This is a car which we've decided to have a closer look at. Its mileage is clearly advertised. In fact, 7 Towers Autos says it's officially been checked. But when we made our own checks on the Peugeot, there seemed to be a problem. 7 Towers lists the mileage at 117,000. The dealer even says the mileage has been checked as correct with the driver and vehicle licensing agency based in Coleraine. But wait a minute, when we checked the official mileage of this car, it was a very different story. On the 17th of April last year, this very same Peugeot went through an MOT, and during that test, the mileage was recorded at over 182,000. Somehow, the 7 Towers Peugeot has lost more than 65,000 miles since April last year. So how did it happen? Could it be that the dealer has made a mistake while taking a reading from the dashboard? It's time for a closer look, but one which doesn't arouse suspicion. This is when we go undercover. Our team seen here walking into 7 Towers Autos are carrying concealed cameras, and their target is the blue Peugeot with the questionable mileage history.
Go ahead and take a wee look here, aye? Aye, come in.
And once inside the car, we could check the mileage displayed on the dashboard. And just to make sure, we ask again how many miles the car has done.
We just was seeing it on the website, sort of thing, and the mileage is guaranteed. We're not going to ban something with big miles.
Well, actually, I'm 118,000 on it.
Yeah.
I look around the car, it's never been taxi stupid, there's a script in that door. So there is. I think I'd have to take the bad luck of that.
The mark on the back door may well indeed come off, but what can never come off is the miles this car has travelled. The man in charge of 7 Towers Autos, Sam Surgener, declined to appear on camera. When we asked Sam Surgener about the discrepancy in the mileage of the Peugeot, he said that the issue would have been caught on at the point of sale. While admitting that he has had issues at times in the past with Trading Standards, Sam Surgener claims that no system of guaranteeing mileage is foolproof. And we asked could we go down and interview him, but he made it very clear that he didn't want the BBC Newsline cameras down at his garage. Such is the nature of clocking that no one really knows how many cars on our roads have been tampered with. Our first-time buyer Justin, who bought the clocked Ford Focus, eventually managed to get compensation through the courts, but it's been a hard learning experience.
I mean, it was my first car, so I was quite enthusiastic to get it and, to get out on the road. So to find out that, it had been clocked by such a large amount, I mean, I wouldn't even have been in the market for a car over 100,000 miles, so I wouldn't have bought it if I had known.
Many victims, though, are left to shoulder the hefty repair bills associated with high-mileage cars.
Martin Cassidy reporting there, while Damien Doherty from Trading Standards joins us. How can someone be sure, then, when they're buying a second-hand car, that the mileage is correct?
Well, they can never be sure. What we would advise consumers to do is take reasonable steps and carry out normal checks to establish whether a car has been clocked. The first thing we would advise people to do is use a reputable dealer. Any reputable car dealer will actually have carried out a vehicle mileage check in advance. We'd also advise people to look for documentation such as the logbook, the MOT certificates and the service history books. Contact the previous keepers of the vehicles, contact the garages that apparently have carried out the services, and see whether the mileage is true.
A lot of people will be under the impression, though, that when a car goes in for an MOT, the mileage is checked, so any discrepancy will be clear.
Well, if people were to assume that, they would probably be wrong. The MOT Centre are tasked with testing the roadworthiness of any vehicle. They're not charged with investigating car clocking. That's something that's Trading Standards has to look at. But they do provide an invaluable service. The information that they record allows Trading Standards to investigate offences and allegations of car clocking and take those to task that have been the perpetrators of the fraud.
Well, if this activity is rife, why do we not hear at headline news every day that you're bringing prosecutions against people?
Well, we are actually regularly prosecuting car dealers. It's the number one most complained about consumer issue that we have. We prosecute more car dealers than any other individuals in the trade sector.
What sort of punishment is there? What sort of deterrent?
Well, car dealers would regularly get fines within the thousands of pounds. They're also being issued with compensation orders to recompense any of their victims.
But is that enough if this activity continues?
Well, obviously, we would like to assure consumers that Trading Standards is doing all they can to identify, investigate and prosecute any car dealers and take issue with them.
Okay, Damien Doherty, thank you for joining us.
The Ulster and